I've been producing for over 8 years now, and for a long time, my music sounded flat, forgettable, and it just didn't have that professional sound, and I could never figure out why. But now, I can just make a full track start to finish, get it signed to labels, and play my music confidently in front of crowds of people. And what changed wasn't some one big secret. It was a handful of little things that eventually started adding up. Unsexy fundamentals that most people skip over. So in this video, I'll break down 6 of the biggest things making your track sound amateur and exactly how to fix each one, starting with the most important one. So let me ask you, have you ever even asked yourself what makes music sound amateur? Let's look at children's songs specifically. Why do they sound so childish? Like, sure that they're basic, they're predictable, but why? Like, what actually makes them childish? Well, it's because there is no tension. Let me show you what I mean. First of all, harmonically. It's all perfectly consonant, which means there's no dissonance. The most dissonant tones are the single semitone interval or the tritone, the 6 semitone interval. So if we added some of them to Mary Had a Little Lamb, it could sound something like this. A little bit more spicy, but it still sounds pretty basic. And that's because rhythmically, there's also no tension. It's all perfectly on the beat, on the grid. There's no syncopation, which is why it sounds so childish. You just hear this one rhythmical pattern and it keeps repeating without any variation. So what if instead we shift some of the notes to the offbeats, like this? We're actually kind of getting somewhere. It's still Mary Had a Little Lamb, but it's much more spicy. Because now the pauses are irregular, and instead of the notes hitting exactly where you expect them, they come after a bit of silence. That silence is a moment of unresolved tension. This is what makes it more unpredictable and interesting. It keeps the listeners engaged. So keep this principle in mind. If you want to add more edge to your music, add tension. Either harmonic tension through dissonance or rhythmic tension through syncopation. And while we're on the topic of rhythm, let's talk about the second point. This is something that takes literally 2 clicks to set up, but it makes a huge difference. Groove is when you shift the notes slightly off grid to give them a more human feel. And you can apply it automatically to any pattern through Ableton's Groove Pool. Just go into the Grooves section down here and drag one of the grooves here onto your pattern. Just make sure that the global groove amount right here is set to 100%. I personally absolutely love the groove and I add it to literally everything. Now let's talk about the simple mixing habit that literally every pro producer swears by. And let me explain this with a metaphor. Your track is like a volleyball team, where each player has a unique position. The setter sets up the ball, the attacker spikes it to score points, and the libero defends and makes sure the ball stays in the game. But you wouldn't suddenly expect the libero to start spiking, would you? Just like you wouldn't want the attackers suddenly focusing on defense. They would just get in the way of the libero and make everything worse. So each team member is good at their own thing. And that's how it works in mixing as well. All elements should do what they do best without stepping on each other's toes. So let me show you in practice what this means. A lot of the time you're gonna have elements like this, where it's just a normal hi-hat, but with a lot of unnecessary, unwanted frequencies. You see all this bass in the low end? Listen to how these low frequencies sound like when we isolate it. See, we don't want that from the hi-hat. If we really wanted bass, we would just add a bass. Come on. So let's cut that out. The difference might not seem crazy at first, but over 20 different elements, trust me, this is gonna start adding up to a much less coherent mixdown.
Girl, let's get feral. I'm unparalleled. Come on, let's break the ice. No need to think twice.
So make sure you're intentional about which frequencies you include in the sound. If you only want the highs from a hi-hat, make sure to cut out the bass. Each element has its own unique role, so make sure it stays that way. But here's where most producers mess up. They fix this in the mixdown and then completely ignore it in the arrangement. That's point number 4. I'm gonna extend the volleyball metaphor here as well. If you're gonna have the entire team trying to get the MVP award and trying to spike the ball at all costs, it's just not gonna work. They're gonna bump into each other and lose. And it's the same with music. At any one given moment, there should be 1 or maybe 2 leaders maximum. Everything else is either supporting it or getting out of its way. Because the fastest way to make your track sound amateur is when you play literally everything at once. When the listener doesn't know what to focus on, they just zone out. It's like if you had 5 people trying to talk to you at the exact same time. You can't follow anything. So instead, try to guide the attention of the listener in one direction at a time. You can have elements switch between each other to create a question and answer kind of feeling.
Despite all the things I didn't do, I'd never say a bad thing about you. Don't let my silence fool you.
So arrangement is basically about deciding what gets the spotlight and when. But here's the thing. If the thing in the spotlight sucks in the first place, even the perfect arrangement isn't gonna save it. This brings me to point number 5. It's time for another metaphor. Imagine you open your fridge. You've got chicken breast in there, rice, peanut butter, dark chocolate, and fucking yellow mustard. I think it's pretty safe to say you wouldn't go for having the dark chocolate with yellow mustard. I hope not, at least. And also you wouldn't have like peanut butter with your chicken, right? I guess unless you're bulking. Some combinations of foods just don't go well together. And it's the same with music. You need to make sure that your ingredients, your sound selection, fits well together. Otherwise, if you choose the wrong sounds, no amount of mixing is gonna save your track. Here's a comparison of the same mixing, same exact composition, but with different sound selection. So if you implement so much as even one of these fixes, your music's already gonna level up. But honestly, the fastest way to get there is to just get a mentor, someone more advanced than you who's gonna give you direct feedback on your music and keep you accountable to actually finish it. So if you're gonna work with me on that, the link to that is down below. You can book a free call and we'll see if you're the right fit. So click that link right now and I'll see you soon. Cheers.